And welcome back. We're moving into our final conversation for today. And joining us from the General Post Office, we have the Deputy Postmaster General, James Gabriel. And we also have Postal Supervisor 1, Roxana Williams.
Hi,
good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the show. Now, obviously, we're here to talk about a new commemorative stamp that will be issued. But let's talk a little bit about the work of the Belize Postal Service and how it continues in the face of all the challenges with technology and emails and everything and the instant generation.
A question always comes up, and one would think that because of the internet, the post office would be losing revenues. But the internet has brought a lot of opportunities to the postal sector. And that is especially so when you would look at the fact that people would go online to do shopping. Post offices worldwide has been recording an increase in the amount of packages that post office that will be passing through the post office. And in Belize City, in the country of Belize, we could see it likewise. It was in the ending of December. We had gotten a letter from our parent organization, the governing body in Bern, Switzerland, where they were commending Belize for the increase in the volume of the express mail that we handled during 2013-2014, and the excellent scores that we did. Because when you deal with the express mail service, it is not necessarily where you would just get that item and then deliver it. It goes through several processes, and hence the reason why when you would send an item by means of express mail, you're given a tracking number, and you could go online and track your package. Now, that tracking just doesn't appear like that. It is us in the background who needs to be doing certain things each time that item passed through from one section to the other. And you would get scores for that from the parent organization. And Belize ranked the first 20. We're in the first 20, Ms. Rox? Yes. In the first 20 from like 177 countries worldwide. Yeah. So that was impressive. So what is important to take away is that while the internet, yes, would have taken away what would be correspondences, because you could send an email, the fact that people would now be interested in sending packages, and not just sending regular packages, you would want to send it express. Consider the cost of a correspondence where you used to pay like 60 cents for a regular correspondence, and now you would now be sending an express package which starts at $50. So in terms of the revenue, it is a good trade-off. Excellent trade-off.
Now, jumping into the whole issuance of stamps and the philatelic bureau portion of it and what that means, is the stamps something that people still look forward to?
Yes, people still look forward to. We have our customers. We have worldwide customers. They're always contacting us to see what our stamp program will be for the year because they're interested in collecting. And because Belize, we don't issue as much as many other countries, our stamps are, people would want to collect them because they're rare, no? So we have local customers as well as international customers who look forward to our releases every year.
But they're primarily collectors.
Yes.
Now, you spoke about your stamp program. What does it mean? The number of stamps you will produce for the year, or?
Yes, the stamp program is essentially what administration would consider to produce during the course of a year. We would not necessarily stick to a specific amount of stamps that we would produce, because whilst we, for example, for this year, administration is looking at producing 2 sets of stamps in addition to what we have just produced. And we are looking I'm kind of spelling it here because we're
That's fine.
considering.
We like that.
We're considering the Three Kings. The Three Kings. I think that would be a beautiful set. And then we're also considering to change the set of the definitives that are on the counter. The definitives are the regular stamps that you would get on the counter, and those would usually be on sale for 5 years or more. We have had these definitives for over 5 years now on our counters, and so we're already in discussion to come up with a new set of definitives. That's a usually large project because then you will have all values of stamps, like from 5 cents all the way to $10. All right, and so in contrast to the commemoratives, where you would have a set comprised of even just one stamp or 2 stamps or so. All right, so I can tell you in terms of the stamp program for this year, we're looking forward to the Three Kings. We're looking forward to a new set of definitives, and if any organization would come forward and the administration would see worthy of putting on a stamp, then we'll go that route.
Yeah, and that was really the question I had in terms of this partnering with the Salvation Army for their 100-year celebration. It was an approach made to the Postal Services?
Yes. And it's always interesting to see how we would reach the final production of a stamp from the onset.
Yeah.
I can recall we had Major King coming in from the Salvation Army, and he was like, at that time I was holding over for the Postmaster General, and he was like, Mr. Gabriel, we're interested in getting a stamp made to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Salvation Army. And so I would say, first thing you need to do is to send us that in writing, and then send us some pictures. And once we get that, then the administration will look at it. We'll call in some of the experts that are around in the field that we would be, that the intention would be, and then we would discuss that. And after a decision would have been taken, contacting the ministry, getting the approval from our ministry, then we would then start to send those information out to the UK. And it's a back and forth process, because what normally goes on is that the UK would be sending us drawings and artwork, and then we would need to be commenting on them. We would need to ask them to adjust here, to include this, to take out this. And so it's a back and forth process. And I think that process started from like in October. And yesterday we finally released the stamp.
And you really have some iconic images. I think the kettle appeal one is fantastic, because that really is one of the identifiable activities of the Salvation Army.
I agree. I agree. I think the Christmas kettle appeal one will sell real good.
And we know that the funds for the kettle appeal is used for the children for Christmas time for meals, and they also do baskets for the elderly every month. So we're asking people to come in and make their purchases now.
And how do you determine the value for the different stamps?
Okay, well, we know that normally a regular mail throughout the country, I believe, is 25 cents. So we would, when we bring out a launch a set of stamps, we would, the 25 cents is one that we would do once we're bringing out more than one. And then we have the 60-cent stamps for international mail. So that would be one. But for this one, we did the $2. We used $2 for registered mail.
Okay.
Yeah. So the value goes along with what sells more, what the customers what the customers demand.
We have a high demand for the
$2
for registered mail.
For registered mail,
And I didn't know that there was an approach that could be made for collaborating on a commemorative stamp. Obviously, there has to be a stringent process. I can't just come and say, it's William's birthday, let's do a commemorative stamp for him. Well, I'm testing the waters, So it has to be something significant to the country as well.
Yes.
If you could recall, we did one that was 2013, and that was the Palatine, the 100th anniversary of the Palatine's arrival to Belize. Yeah, and again, that was a very historical stamp. when you consider the impact that the Palatine system has made in this country, you would certainly want to epitomize them on a stamp.
So one other question I have, because you're talking about the process itself spanning from October of last year to actually, and the images. So you send the images, you don't just select one and send it to printing in England, but rather you send a number of images and then there are suggestions given back to you, that kind of a thing?
Yes, for example, for this Salvation Army stamp, we had like 3 images, and at the end of the day, 2 was selected. All right, and even in selecting those 2, drawings would come back, artwork would come back, we would comment, and then until it.
So it's not just using a picture to necessarily create a thing.
Yes, that is exactly it. A regular picture, a regular photograph. Yeah, we would just send that. And thanks to technology now, we would send that by way of
by mail anymore.
You're right. Yeah, but when we
Isn't
get
that considered like cheating in the postal services?
however, for us to physically get our packages of stamps from the UK, then it had to come to the post office, all right?
That is interesting.
Well, we want to thank you both for any final. You can just walk in and ask for. Is there a special one for collectors that you go into the?
Yes, for collectors, you come to the Philatelic Bureau. That's on Queen Street, and then we have different collections of stamps, so you could choose from. So starting from yesterday, you could have come into the post office and purchased the Salvation Army stamps and first day covers. No, so it's available for sale. So we're open from 8 to 5. So you could just come in and pick up your.
I'm sure your collectors were probably there from yesterday.
Yes.
And I need to make mention of the official first day cover, which is essentially an envelope. If we could just pat that there. The picture on the envelope are the founders of the Salvation Army.
The 2 persons, yes.
William Booth and his wife, the co-founder. A lot of us are familiar with the Salvation Army, but for me, in terms of who the founders were, I weren't sure. So that in itself.
So that is the 3rd image that we've seen. We saw the kettle, we see the headquarters, and the 3rd picture was the founder. There they are.
That is it. That is referred to as the first day cover. Now to get that whole set of stamp along with the first day cover, you would pay like $6.50, and then you could have that. Stamps, each time a stamp is released, a copy of those stamps are sent to archives, and so those stamps are always recorded in history.
Great. All right, well, we want to thank you for joining us today, and you might have more people coming with some ideas for commemorative stamps now. I'll still try for the birthday, William. Don't worry, okay?
Let's wait until I get to the 100.
I was going to say 50. That's closer. All right. Thank you very much for joining us.
And thanks for inviting us.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.